Well, g'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life, and the brand new 11th generation Civic is quite a departure from the previous model. They've stripped away all the fake vents and grills to create a very European Civic, which is not surprising because that's where they developed this car. The front end has really been smoothed out with this new model, and it's got some really nice striking LED lights here at the front, along with a black honeycomb grille and a number of other black accents to give it a much more grown-up look. And then when you add that to the wheels, which are very much sort of Euro R inspired with a black polished face look to them, it's a beautiful looking car. Round back it features some classy C-shaped taillights and twin exhausts, and this more sort of coupe roofline definitely gives a tasteful aesthetic to the back end. While some will no doubt miss the more striking appearance of the 10th Gen RS, I feel like overall this will be a more universally liked design due to its slightly more conservative nature. Practicality is one of the main reasons you buy a hatch, and thankfully the Civic is still top in class. They've made the hatch opening here larger so it's easy to load items in, and the seats still fold down completely flat. One nice thing about the back seats is that they've made the windows back here larger and added a couple of air vents, which helps to make it feel a little more airy back here. But the space is not brilliant. The leg room is pretty good here in the front, but my head does hit the roof if I sit up straight. I can't even hit the headrest because it hits the roof long before I get far enough back. So for space I'd give it a 6 out of 10. But the front seat, oh my, the front seat is where the party is. This is one of the most incredible interiors I have ever sat in, and the quality feel of everything in here is utterly unmatched for the price. These part leather, part Alcantara seats are really comfortable, and they're breathable as well, and they adjust electronically on both sides now, which is a great addition. The steering wheel is also new and features Honda's latest iteration of their sensing safety suite, which I'll demonstrate a bit later on in the driving section. But all the buttons on here are super logically laid out. They feel absolutely fantastic to use, and I have not thus far seen a level of attention to detail go into something as simple as the climate control knobs. Just listen to this. The sound they make is literally like ASMR levels of perfection. These temperature knobs just have this metallic weight to them, and all the buttons have a lovely tactile feeling. When you combine it with the crisp and fast changing graphics on here, it has never made me want to change the temperature so much in this car. The infotainment system is a real highlight as well. It feels just like a phone to use, has shortcut keys for the bottom so that you can easily access all the things that you want to, or even when you're on something other than the home screen, and it has a physical volume knob, which is just absolutely fantastic. Like, I don't know why people get rid of these things in cars. Not to mention it's got a really high resolution reversing camera and built-in navigation, along with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. And finally, the gauges. They're lifted straight out of the Odyssey and Accord. The half analog, half digital design is a little unique, but it works and it shows all the information that you need in a really clean aesthetic. The 1.5 turbo engine is essentially a carryover from the previous model RS, but they have retuned a few things to help give it a little more power and torque. It's up from 127 kilowatt to 134 if you run it on 95, and from 220 to 240 newton meters. Of course, it's still front wheel drive and it's still paired with a CVT, unfortunately, and there's no manual option, which is a real bummer for me, because if this came with a manual I'd be very keen on it myself. But the real question is, has this new engine and transmission tuning helped the acceleration at all? So the old Civic RS I timed from 0 to 100 in 7.4 seconds. And this latest Civic Sport I timed in, well, 8 seconds, which frankly was just a little bit surprising actually. I really did think with the extra power and torque that this thing would be faster. But now that I've had a bit more of an opportunity to drive this thing, I can see why. They have really smoothed and refined this drivetrain out, and as a result it does feel slower. Now whether it actually is another matter, but either way, that's not really the point of this. It's still more than fast enough, and as we come in behind a old Civic RS right here in the same color, I can demonstrate one of this car's greatest new features over that car right there. All I have to do here is set the adaptive cruise for whatever speed I want to go and turn on the lane keep assist, and now they work at any speed. So even though I'm only going 50 when previously it would only work at 65, I can sit here, fold my arms, have a chat with my passengers, and I literally don't have to touch the steering wheel or the pedals at all, and the car will handle all of the steering and braking for me at any speed. So it works in traffic, it works on the open road, it works when you're driving around town. It is absolutely glorious. But the other excellent thing about this car is that it's not called the Civic Sport for no reason. It might not be quite as fast as the last one, but they've really improved the overall drivability of this car. This engine is much quieter, much smoother in its power delivery, and the way the CVT works, like, I do not care that this car is a CVT. I still wouldn't buy one because I would prefer a manual for my type of driving style, but if I just wanted a daily driver, this is perfectly adequate. And the way they've linked it in with these paddle shifters now, it holds the ratios perfectly. It even locks up the torque converter, which is just brilliant for a CVT. And you really don't notice that it's doing any kind of weird surging or any of that annoying stuff. You just use second and third gear on a winding road like this, give it a bit of wally, and it clings on mighty well through these turns. And above all else, I just can't get over how quiet and smooth and comfortable this car is, and yet it still handles really, really well. Like I said, it's not called the Civic Sport for no reason. This thing means business on a back road like this, and it is genuinely a lot of fun to drive. So to conclude, this new Civic is one of the best medium-sized hatches on the market for practicality, comfort, build quality, features, and of course driver enjoyment. And in the US, where they have 12 different models, 8 colors, 3 engines, and 2 transmission options, this will sell very well to a wide variety of people. But in New Zealand, there's a bit of a problem. You see, this is it. There is one model, one engine, and one transmission. Now at face value, this isn't really a problem because it offers a similar level of performance and fun to drive aspect, and of course the features and build quality for around the same money as this car's direct competitors, the Mazda 3 Limited, the Golf R line, and the Focus ST line. But the problem is the HR-V outsells the Civic 4-1, the CX-5 outsells the Mazda 3 6-1, and Volkswagen sells 3 times as many Tiguans as they do Golfs. So clearly medium-sized hatches is not where the market's going. But there is one exception, the Toyota Corolla, which outsells all of the Civic and its competitors 10-1. So clearly the people that are still buying medium-sized hatches are going out and buying Corollas. Well, why is that? Because they're between 30 and 40 grand and they have a good range of various different models that are offered with a hybrid powertrain as well. The Golf, Civic, Mazda 3 and Focus for the most part are significantly more expensive, and while they do have various options available, almost none of them are hybrids, which is why no one's buying both. If Honda could stick to their 4 core models, the Jazz, the Civic, the HR-V and the CR-V, and offer a wide variety of performance-y Type R models, but also entry-level petrol and hybrid and even EV models, I think Honda would really step themselves up in the market and sell an awful lot of cars. But at the moment, it's just sitting in no man's land, right? What Corolla buyer is going to want to splash an extra 15 grand on something like this that's going to get worse fuel economy, not be that much faster, and yes, it's nicer finished on the inside, but it doesn't really offer that much more spec for the money either. Now that doesn't make the Corolla a better car, it's just what people want. They want cheap cars that are hybrid and have as much features as possible. That's just what people are buying these days. And I don't really want Honda to go down that route, but at the very least they need to offer more than just one model. Then at least they can compete with some of the other offerings from Mazda, Volkswagen and Ford that this car directly competes with, because at the moment it only really competes with the top spec models. And then the other problem is that to someone like me, it's just not sporty enough to convince me to come out of my manual modified Accord into something like this. It's absolutely brilliant to drive, but it needs a proper 7-speed dual clutch or 8-speed auto or a manual gearbox to really pique my interest. So thanks Honda for making this new Civic the best Civic they've ever made. But I think I might just stick with this, eh?